that the good part of this is recorded. I always forget to do that. But I do want to encourage everyone to submit questions. The idea being here is that y'all have access to some of the best and brightest when it comes to ISAs, and that you have the opportunity to engage with them live. So to our audience members, it looks like there's about 46 of y'all. Go ahead and submit those questions. I've got my guy Carter on standby to help keep an eye on some of those, and I'll be checking them intermittently. In the meantime, we put together a little outline, some questions that I work with Robby and Summer on, to maybe give y'all a good lay of the land. And I kind of like to just start at the top, right? We work under the assumption that, most teams run an ISA, but that's not always true. So I kind of want to, have y'all lay the groundwork of, what does a successful ISA program look like? Maybe what would someone look for when they're looking to bring an ISA into their business? Or even why, what's sort of the catalyst that would drive a team to look at this hire for their business?
Summer, do you want me to take that first, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'll let you take it first. I think this is such a cool dynamic because Robby, you have years of experience in the industry, and then we're literally doing what you're saying, Mac, here on our team. So I think it's a really cool perspective, but kick it off for us.
Yeah, so let's inverse it, Mac. Let's talk about what it isn't. Let's talk about what the ISA role isn't, because I think that'll help people understand it. For far too long, people viewed the ISA role as the low men or women on the totem pole. They viewed the ISA as a stepping stone, or they viewed the ISA as a role that could be outsourced overseas. And I think it's a big reason why the ISA role has had unbelievable amounts of turnover, because we've viewed them as less than, and we haven't treated them well, and we haven't created a pathway. And I think what's been really cool is when I started in this game 8 years ago, we just firmly didn't believe that. And I didn't. Really, if we were to define what an ISA department is, it's highly skilled professionals. And I actually usually recommend licensed professionals, people who have their real estate license, who have no interest in selling real estate for a variety of different reasons. Maybe they don't want to be face-to-face with clients, they don't want to be out in the field, or maybe their life doesn't allow for it for a variety of different reasons. But they're production driven, and they're willing to live this lifestyle. And in our world, and where people usually build towards, you can't switch it overnight, but what you can build towards is having every single lead potentially go to your ISA departments. And really what that frees people up to do, and I think it's the forgotten about part when you build an ISA department, is it frees your agents up from having to chase people they don't usually like chasing, paid internet leads or whatever, Zillow leads, whatever it may be. And it allows them to focus their energy on bringing in business from their own SOI. And I think our team's a really, really good example of this, because we, in our world, for 8 years now, all leads have flowed to our ISA department. And our agents on average bring in more than 30 SOI deals per year. So our agents are bringing in more SOI business, 3 times what the average person sells in real estate. And they're doing about another 35-ish or 30 deals from our company deals. So it's just really kind of the best of both worlds. It's allowing agents to reach out to who they want to convert at a much higher level. And what we know about internet leads is it's a long-term play. And unfortunately for agents, even if they're good at lead generation, what would always happen is they're good. They get busy with their now business and their lead generation falls off. And what's been cool in balancing with an ISA department is, sure, Summer and her ISAs get busy, but they don't have to go service all their clients as well. So that's really kind of like the 10,000 foot view. If we were to shorten that into a short statement for you high Ds, where I lost you by giving context. I know, friends, I can be long-winded. ISAs take the lead on all the company paid leads, which allows agents to focus on generation for their friends, family, past clients, and that's a huge win-win. There you go.
That makes sense. It's a modern problem where, 10 years ago, companies started to pop up. Zillows, the Boom Towns, the Tiger leads back in the day, where, they could generate leads, at the drop of a, hat, right? And that's to go along with the traditional form of selling real estate, working your sphere and getting out in the market to meet people, so how do you solve for that? So, y'all saw the opportunity and obviously look to get ahead of it in terms of coaching and being the thought leaders there. So that's awesome and appreciate the context. So Summer, kind of switching the perspective here, you are obviously, brought into Spring's organization, Utah Life, for those of you that aren't familiar. And, she obviously saw the need. Maybe speak to how you were identified, what the conversation looked like, the expectations set with you being brought in to make a difference in their organization.
Yeah. So that's why, again, I think this dynamic is super cool because I'm on the flip side. I came into this role because I had the skill set, but I was like, what the heck is an ISA? Like, I'm starting this from the ground up, right? So I had to zoom way out to understand the full process. Like Robby said, get licensed. It's not a requirement in every state, but it is in Utah. So we went through the hoops. And I think no matter where you are, huge benefit. It also shows the grit of just having to get through and get your license before getting on the phone. And I think Spring saw the gap. Robby, you shared with me before that it's like 600 or 650 days since a lead initially registers on the website, like for a forced registration, until it converts. Like that's how long it's in your CRM and maybe being worked or maybe not before it actually pops off. And so when Spring was starting to see stats like this and then look at her database and be like, holy, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss on here, that we have, 50,000 plus leads in here. Sure, some are from SOI, but like a decade plus worth of leads. And they're sitting here and my agents are complaining that they don't have enough lead flow, or like, who am I supposed to call today? And she saw that gap. And I believe that she was outsourcing most of her or some ISA work in her database. And the issue was that it just wasn't quality. It was just quantity, and it was literally robotic. And so there was no human element, no ownership. And, if you're outsourcing it, there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There's no like incentive to continue with that lead. Whereas that's how I am in the ISA team here is compensated. Like if I don't maintain relationship or a good quality follow-up, or if I don't own my data bank, as we love to call it, like, then I don't have a job. So I think that's where the gap was. And that's why Spring decided to bring me in and for us to work with Robby and work with other leaders in the industry to figure out this ISA game. And now we're at a point where, okay, we've built this machine and now we really get to go for it and focus on production, which is super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I've heard it dubbed as like, a loss prevention department in a lot of organizations, right? Because you start generating all these leads, the database grows, and it becomes exponentially more difficult to manage and keep up with your investment in those leads, right? So, you have to be responsible for that. And that point around, trying to outsource, I feel like it's always a losing battle. I feel like I never see it work out, in all the years I've been talking to people. It's tough to do. But, to your point about, making sure you're involved in the process, I think this is a good segue here, Summer, kind of painting the picture of what does success look like in the role for you? What are your KPIs? What are you focusing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to make sure you're hitting your metrics? And then Robby, from there, what are you kind of coaching and training people on when it comes to KPIs, your key performance indicators?
So I'm smiling and laughing because like this over the last year, this has constantly been changing because this is a brand new department and we're figuring it out, like full transparency. So that's what's awesome about Sisu. What's awesome about we're in Sierra Interactive now. We moved over from Boomtown actually, is just to have so much transparency and eyes on the activities that we're doing so we can make those micro shifts and get better and really see where the gap is. For us, we are focused on the activities that get us the outcome we're looking for, which is high quality appointments for our agents. The activities that lead to those are dials, time on the phone, and texting conversations. So for me as an ISA and leading other ISAs, we are constantly looking at those activities and seeing if they're generating the results, the appointment set that we're looking for.
Perfect. Robby, anything to add there? Is that, given that Summerr here is being coached by you, I feel like we might get some alignment.
Yeah.
Just a hunch. I could be wrong there.
Just maybe. So I want to actually circle back real quick, and then I want to hit on what Summerr just said. Mac, you were talking about how ISAs like are a redundancy, or they're basically a safety net for the leads. One thing I think everybody should write down about ISAs is I actually call them the greatest insurance policy in the world, right? And you made such a good point earlier about there is not a lead generation problem. You could go buy more leads, you can get more leads really from anywhere. And there will always be a new lead source right around the corner. Everybody has a lead conversion problem. And really the highest and best use to convert that problem is having talented individuals like Summerr who have high quality conversations with people and have a financial motivation, a financial incentive to continue to follow up with people. I do want to add one more thing real quick about the day-to-day life of an ISA is every day is a little bit different. It is highly inconvenient to be an ISA, just like being an agent. Summerr can probably attest that leads will call you back and text you back at all times a day. And that's just a part of this role. That's why I call it a lifestyle role. So really, we talk about three key things I want to hit on, Mac, that I think people should know about lead conversion. It's speed to lead, speed to response, and speed to service. Speed to lead, of course, is how quickly are you getting to a lead. And really, that's why we created our solutions within Sierra to make sure your speed to lead is instantaneous when the lead comes in. With texting, so that's one thing. Speed to response is how quickly are you responding to a lead when they've now responded to you. And this is a really unique KPI because it's really tough to measure, frankly. And really the only big thing that you can do is Sisu, of course, can track the effort being put in, calls, texts, emails, appointment set, all that good stuff. But the main KPI I look at right here is your inbox clean? Is your inbox clean? Let me give a really good example. Let's say, and I like to use North Dakota language, all right, just to, talk a little farmer for y'all, and I can say boots if you really want it. I know I don't have much of the accent, but if you want to hear it, I can bring my wife in. You'll hear some Norwegian stuff for you, straight out of the movie. Anyways, imagine you're staring at a forest, right? And there is 10,000 trees. And all of a sudden I go put a tree in the middle of that forest. No one's going to know that the forest just added one more tree. Yeah, this is how people operate with their inboxes in their CRMs is they have 300 responses sitting there. It just went up to 301 and you have no clue if that one response is brand new or quality or nothing. And this is one of the biggest things I have to harp on. That's a really tough thing to measure. But what it really comes down to is if you're looking at a farm field, again, Fargo, you're looking at a farm field and it's flat, and I put a tree in the center of the farm field, all you're going to see is the tree. And Summer's job as an ISA is to make sure that if any trees pop up, she cuts it down. Somebody responds to her inbox, she gets to it as soon as possible. That is speed to response. And it sucks because there's some days where, Summerr, you probably have 30, 40, 50 things hopping in that inbox, if not more, way more. And yeah, it is. Someone said the visual, it's whack-a-mole. 100% it is. I call it that all the time. So those are some things. And then of course there's speed to service. Speed to service is how quickly can you get in front of them and help them get what they want. If they have to wait more than a day or two or a week, it's over. By the way, if somebody texts you back on Friday night at 9 o'clock, here's the thing, friends, you got to be texting that person back. You do, like, this is a part of the ISA rule. Now, obviously that's within reason. If somebody texts you at 1 a.m., you don't need to, right? I'm not saying that. But people don't wait. We've grown up in this generation where people can Snapchat and they can Amazon Prime things and instantly order. They don't want to wait to hear back. And they'll move on. They'll find someone else if you don't respond within a socially normal time, which I would say is at least a couple hours at the latest. I got a little more. I get a little long-winded. Sorry. Standards that I live by are 250 dials per day, and Mac, I need people to write down that word, or 25 contacts or 2 quality appointments.
I'm writing it down too.
250 or 25 or 2. All right.
I have to chime in on this because I love this so much. We follow those metrics as well. And we typically, as individual ISAs, blow the 25 contacts out of the water every day if we're including text messages or texting conversations. But as a salesperson who has not always been in a leadership role, like, I don't want to be micromanaged, and this system allows me to be, and allows all the ISAs on our team to be outcome driven. So like, your metrics matter, but the outcome matters more.
And no one has time to micromanage anything anymore. You know, that's why, you know, Sisu has become such a popular tool in the real estate space. So, you know, I love the outcome driven part too.
And let's hit on what Summer said. People hate being micromanaged, right? There's been such a fundamental shift in leadership in some of the biggest businesses in the world. You go back to like the 1980s, management and leadership was all micromanagement. It was someone breathing down your neck. That is dead and gone, right? None of the best companies in the world are doing that anymore because they've learned people hate it. Rather, I think what you can do is you have to hire outcome-driven people, and then you got to have very clear standards and metrics. And someone had asked, what's the 250? It's 250 attempts or dials, or 25 contacts, or 2 quality appointments. And I need to name the danger that I think you were getting at, Summer. What I've seen people do is they'll sit there, they'll go, this is where you have to be very dangerous with standards. I've seen people go and sit in a pool of leads that they know nobody answers in, and they'll call through that just so they hit 250 dials. Okay, that's pointless. That defeats the purpose. Really, the whole point of the 250 or 25 or 2 is if you don't have 2 appointments, what I go and look at is how many conversations did you have? If you don't have 25 conversations, then I go look at your effort that you're putting in.
And I mean, this is coming up for Robby and I in our coaching, and in my experience, we have an ISA that we're looking at and we're like, why is she having so many conversations? Like, she's hitting her conversations, she's surpassing her dials. And it allows us to focus in and see where, I don't want to say the problem, but where the gap is that we need to close, right? So if she's having 25 plus conversations and hitting her dials, Robby and I are immediately like, well, it's whatever she's saying on the phone. So now we know exactly where to look, whether it's in your own calls in your own business or looking at someone on your team.
No more guesswork. Efficiency in identifying the areas for improvement, finding that opportunity to make adjustments in your business. I love that. Real quick, y'all. Love that commentary, Stephen. Microwave generation, they want things instantly. I can attest to that. You know, I'm part of that generation. I want things now and fast, just like Ricky Bobby. And Ron Rose, my guy, aka Ron Rocks. Spent 5 years calling him that before I realized your last name was pronounced Rose. Good to see you, Ron. We're going to get to, you know, tracking in Sisu as well. And specifically, you know, Summer, maybe if you could start thinking about tracking those activities in Sierra and pushing to Sisu, that would be helpful. You know, we mentioned a little bit about talent in some of the past the last answers to your questions, you know, being on the hunt for outcome driven people. Robby, you know, how are you coaching organizations to find the right people for this role. It seems like, there's a mindset shift happening where, you want to get away from the outsourced ISA. You want to find real people in your organization, dedicated sales professionals with experience. What else are you kind of guiding people towards here to find the right fit?
I would actually, I would argue that experience for me isn't necessary. It's a plus, but it's not necessary. I think what I look for is probably a few key factors. And I know Summer literally just went through a lot of this, so I'm excited for her to share on this as well. I look for somebody who is financially driven in some way, shape, or form, because you can give somebody the best tools, the best leads, the best leadership, everything, the best training. But if they don't have the desire to text somebody back Friday at 9 o'clock because they don't have a financial drive, it's never going to work. And it's not that that person's bad. For example, my wife is a former school counselor. My wife would be the worst ISA out here, because that's just not how she's driven, right? And it's not that she's bad, she's just different. And I think a lot of times people become enamored with people like, oh, they're so talented. And the worst thing I can say is that if you're hoping it's going to work, you're hiring the wrong person. You need to know what drives someone. I know Summer is financially driven. I know down to the numbers what drives Summer financially. And that's what you need to be figuring out in the hiring process. What are they pushing towards? The second big thing I care about, Mac, is self-awareness. Holy goodness. All right. There are so many people that are not self-aware. And
has it gotten worse? I feel like it's gotten worse. I don't know what it is.
I think social media plays into it, frankly. I think we've now grown up in 10 years now of Facebook me and then real me. And I don't care about fake people. Like my job in the hiring process, get somebody's mask to come off. I don't want to see your bullshit. There you go, Summer. I swore. I open it up. I don't want that bullshit. I want to know who you are, what scares you, what motivates you, what are you running from, what's the best things in your life. And it's really funny because we were at the Y Local conference and there was 1,000 people there, by the way. Power to them. That's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But there was a very stark difference in ideologies between Eric and a different coach, I won't say his name, on hiring. Eric and I say, slow down, have a process, get to know somebody's heart, so you know you're making a good investment in this person. The other hiring mantra is hire 1,000 people and allow 900 of them to fail and burn out. And Mac, I can say this without any doubt in my mind. In our world, every single person we've ever hired in production still works in real estate. Even if they've left our team, they're still working in real estate. There is nobody else who has been able to say that, not even close. And our retention is well over 90%. And the reason is that in the hiring process, I view it as getting married. Like, I want to know who you are, your heart. And if you're not willing to open up about that stuff, your story, I ain't going to hire you because I don't know what's underneath the mask. And if you're not self-aware, I ain't going to hire you. No chance. One last note on that, I'm good friends with a guy named Jay Niblick. And Jay Niblick created a company that some of y'all probably have heard of in real estate. It's not even just real estate, it's called Wise Hire. And it's a platform that is used to help people make effective hiring decisions. It's like a CRM for hiring. And Jay's a big deal. You'll never hear that out of his mouth, but Tony Robbins and Dave Ramsey learned about DISC from Jay Niblick, and they used Jay's DISC test. Okay, Jay's a big deal. And WiseHire is great, but he did a cross business study on what was the common trait of elite performers in sales across multiple different industries. And it wasn't drive, it wasn't hunger, it wasn't any of those things. It wasn't discipline, it was self-awareness. And I think what it really comes down to is self-aware people understand what motivates them. They don't have these fake motivations, right? You know what scares me more than anything? Someone who says they want to make $100,000, almost always fake. It's a fake number, man.
Yeah.
What I'm always going to say, well, Mac, why does that matter to you? And a lot of people get this dumbfounded look, and it's not a real number. They're not even self-aware of it, to be very, very frank. And it's not that they're a bad person, but I ain't going to hire you. There's too much at risk here. So self-awareness to me is just so key, and just humility,
Yeah.
I like people that have gone through some hell in their life, frankly. I think it creates a chip. So
a little character, right? I love that. I love the kind of story about the contrast and ideologies to hiring there, kind of slowing down. It seems, obviously, no knock on to how others want to run their business, but it seems a little naive to think that, speed in hiring is a good approach to running a business. There's all sorts of hard to account for costs when making bad hires, right? You spend all this time and resources trying to bring them up to speed. In HR, I think it's time to efficiency is one of their metrics that they measure. So if you're training hard to get them operating quickly and doing a good job, you've spent a lot of money in the business, whether that's through your time or others' time, et cetera. So interesting. Interesting to hear that story.
I want to add one more thing on that, because in our hiring process, we do a 3-hour capstone interview.
Oh, wow.
That's our almost last thing. We do a 3-hour interview where we literally get that mask to come off. And then after that, we do a half an hour interview with our team. They would meet all of our ISAs. For example, if the ISA, they're being hired in the ISA department. And we're not done yet. We would also do a interview with their spouse. We would go out for dinner with their spouse, because when you're hiring a producer, you're not just hiring that person, you're hiring their spouse or their significant other, right? People are like, how do you have time for that? First off, you need to realize that if we have 100 applicants, we are lucky if this happens to one person. Lucky, because we filter.
Yep.
And they always say, well, how do you fit time? And that, what I just said, probably takes, let's just call it 5 hours of time total, right? What I sit there and laugh at is, how do you not have time for it?
Right.
Because when you hire the wrong person, you spend way more than 5 hours training, onboarding, spending cash, getting them coaching. That's way worse. And this whole mantra of hire fast, fire fast, it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. Now, should you fire fast if you need to? Yes. But what we believe in is hire slow and fire slow. Because almost always when people are failing, when you've hired the right person, it's not their fault, it's my fault. And there's just not enough ownership, man. And that's the cool thing about businesses these days that are operating at a really, really high level, is there's so much more self-accountability instead of saying, oh, it's Mac's fault that he's not hitting his numbers. No, have I had the conversations to sit down to find out what Mac wants out of this? And have I helped him align his day-to-day activities with what he's trying to get out of life? That's question number one. Number two, if he doesn't want to get anything and it doesn't line up with this role, that's not Mac's fault. Why did I hire him? It's my fault at the end of the day, always. So you can tell I get a little fired up about this.
Yeah,
So.
hey,
I love it.
I love it too. Bring the energy. You're clearly passionate about it. So again, thanks for spending time with us and our crew, Robby.
Redefining the way we treat people, friends.
Always.
I
love that mission too. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
So changing gears here a little bit, Summerr. Are you in a good position to maybe, share your screen, open up, how you're tracking things with your sales department in Sisu, and perhaps, obviously not everyone uses Sierra or that as their CRM, but, at this point, we integrate with most of the major CRM players. So it's just a slight different process and what triggers the transfer of information from your CRM to Sisu. But yeah, why don't you take an opportunity, maybe give us a little overview of, how you're leveraging Sisu in the business.
Yes. Do I have the ability to share? Yes, I do. Okay.
That's
so
good, because I would have been in trouble.
Okay, so I just have our Sisu pulled up here under our ISA scope here for the last week, or this week, I'm sorry. And how we really leverage Sisu. So for our ISA team, we have a 10-minute, we call it a headline meeting every morning at around 9 o'clock in the morning, my time in Pacific. So we hop on before too much has happened in the day. Really quick, it's what happened yesterday, what's happening today, and is there anything you need help with? So Instead of me sharing my screen with my team, they report out, like we go round robin, and it's like yesterday, 30 conversations, 2 appointments set, like they go across their dashboard. And then once everybody's reported out, I read out what we did as a team and what we're working towards to close that gap before the end of the week. And then if anyone has questions, they're said during that time. But we're using Sisu every single day, multiple times a day. We live and die by the dashboard. Like I said, that coupled with the data that we have from Sierra, we know exactly where the gap is and what we need to do to close it, which is awesome. So that's how we're using it on a daily basis. We're looking at how many conversations have we had, how many do we need, where are we at for our appointment set, obviously met, signed, UC, and closed, but we're super focused on the lead measures of conversation and set, because everything else is pretty much out of the ISA's control. Somebody asked what was a quality appointment. So like, what are we actually qualifying as an appointment and putting into Sierra and Sisu? Robby, I'm going to mess up the exact verbiage, but it's a face-to-face meeting or interaction with somebody who has expressed interest in buying or selling real estate. So if we have a conversation with them and they tell us, I want to move, and we know, what they want, when they want it, their motivation, and that they have the ability to do it, we set an in-person strategy session where they're sitting down face-to-face with that agent. And if we can't get them in person, we're doing it over Zoom. A phone call does not count as an appointment for us. So I hope that answers that question as well. Somebody also asked how we're syncing whatever's happening, like some of the metrics in Sierra to Sisu. We're actually in the process of doing that right now. So maybe Robby, if you can speak on any of that, we're actually working on some of our integrations so that conversations and other metrics populate in Sisu.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways you could do it, but the main way people, especially with like Met, sign and those things, are using a tag. They're using tags, and then working with their Sisu rep to make sure that matches up, and then they apply the tag and then updates it accordingly in Sisu.
Yeah, we just moved out of Boomtown and into Sierra. So we're still getting everything set up. So you can see down here at the bottom, like when we were in Boomtown, we had all of our dials and all of those things integrated. And that's just literally happening as we speak this week. So we will then be able to see the dials that are coming out of Sierra, and those 2 metrics should match. We'll be able to see how many outbound texts, which is great to have it all in one place, especially for leadership who maybe isn't in the back end of Sierra. They're looking, when we have our leadership meetings, we're pulling up Sisu, not Sierra, so to have it all in one place is awesome.
100%. I just wanted to echo your definition of an appointment. That's exactly what we believe. It's a conversation with somebody that is face-to-face, not a phone call. So just wanted to echo it.
There's another.
Real quick, I was messing around with the layout of my screen here and missed the Summer. Did you say that appointment met is also a KPI for you? Are you held accountable to that to help work with the agent and ensure that the appointment is followed through with?
It's a loaded question.
Okay.
So there's so many pieces that go into that. It all starts with the ISA's conversation with that client and having a very high quality conversation where we're adding tons of value in the phone call, but also adding or making them understand the value of that appointment. If for some reason somebody doesn't show up, that's on the ISA. So in that sense, yes, because then we didn't add enough value. There are some instances where like that person is getting pre-approved early in the morning and the appointments in the afternoon, and they don't get approved and they go back to ISA and that appointment doesn't get met. So there's some instances where it's out of our control, but as long as we're having those high quality conversations and setting quality appointments, the met should just happen. Our aim is to have a 80% set to met ratio. So you can see for this week so far, we're around 75%.
Awesome. Love it. Tracking right towards.
I'll add one little piece to that is their ISAs have some control over it. The other thing that has to happen is the agents need to do the right things to make sure the person feels compelled to show up. And one little thing that we do, and I know that Summerr and them do, is what we call a group text, where when we set an appointment with an agent, Summerr would, let's just say I'm an agent, Mac, you're the lead, Summer's the ISA. She's going to start a group text between the three of us to basically introduce us together. And then the agent needs to carry on the conversation to maximize the show up rate for the appointment. So it's a combination of doing the right things, like Summerr said on the ISA side, not setting crappy appointments. And actually, that's a conversation for another day. And that happens, right? There's always a feedback loop. You're going to set an ISA when they first start, they are going to set absolute trash appointments. But they need the feedback to get better, and the agents have to give that feedback of like, this was not good for this reason. So then you start learning, but also the agents have to be doing the right things to make sure the person shows up as well. So it's kind of, if I had to put that responsibility, I would say it's in the beginning, probably 75% ISA, 25% agent, and then in the long term, it goes 50-50. That group text is from the personal numbers of people until they roll out group texting in Sierra, which I know they're working on. They might have done it already, but we've always just done it with our cell phones. So.
There's someone asked, David asked in the chat, do you not think an instant appointment is good, even if it has to be on the phone? We don't consider a phone conversation an appointment. It's not that it couldn't help move things along, but and Robby, if you can rephrase this better than I can, but if it's happening on the phone, the ISA should be able to do it. Like it doesn't make sense for someone else to do our job. If we need to get it to the point where they are either, I mean, we push for that strategy session versus a preview appointment for buyers. So I was going to say worst case preview appointment, but I wanted to add context there. Yep. So if we're transferring or setting an immediate appointment for someone to meet with someone, it better be a preview appointment, or better yet, it's face-to-face in our office, or even over Zoom when they're like actually in the mindset to sit down and they're talking through and creating a game plan to like, what's my offer going to look like? What do I even want? Like, what does this really mean? What does this process look like, especially in this market?
So I think we got to dive in here because
I agree.
This
is a great question.
People always get like, now we're in the place of like, what does this appointment look like? Mm-hmm. What you need to realize is that when we're having conversations, Summerr, myself, it's people I train, Summerr is finding out the core motivation of what is driving somebody to make a move, or what are they running from. They're having in-depth conversations, not just about the details of what they want, but also about why they want it. And that's why we're able to leverage that motivation so much easier for a in-person strategy session. I would say at least 60 to 70% of the appointments that your ISA department should be setting should be in-person strategy sessions or consultations, but we call them strategy sessions because it sounds better. Or Zoom, that would be fine as well. And then the rest would be a preview, as Summerr call it, or I call it a showing appointment, same thing, right? And the reason we do this is it's very, very simple. If, as Summerr kind of said, if it can happen on the phone, if it's just simply, if the value proposition of me connecting a lead with my agent is to talk real estate, my agent's screwed. I'll say that one more time. If I'm having this conversation and all I'm doing is getting them over to an agent to answer some of the questions about the house, that agent's screwed, because our value proposition is not to help them get what they need, want, or desire. It's to reveal information they can't get right now. That's it. And the problem with that is once you give that information, the conversation's over.
That's right.
Done. You have no more value proposition. They don't care about you. So what we're doing differently is we're having an in-depth conversation about what they need, want, or desire, and digging in deeper. And by doing so, we're aligning ourselves to position ourselves to be the choice to help them get what they need, want, or desire. That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
So
there was a follow-up question to that I thought was good. If they're not, Kate said, if they're not, shoot, I lost it. If they're not ready to set in-person appointment, are you expecting the ISA to fully qualify the lead rather than letting the age build rapport? I don't know. I would say fully qualify, but we're qualifying it so that we know the strategy session is going to be productive. Like, and I mentioned these before, but the ISAs are qualifying what they want, what do they have, why, or their motivation, and their ability. So that means either a pre-approval or they've got a home to sell, something where we feel really confident that they will actually have the ability to make a move in 30 to 90 days. So as long as the ISA has had a great conversation and captured those pieces, most importantly, ability and motivation, then that's a quality appointment that we're going to set with an agent and allow them to take it from there. If we don't have all that information or are very uncertain about their ability, we will filter them through the a lender to get them fully pre-approved, and then have that follow up and set the in-person appointment.
Yep, Summer nailed it. Spot on. In that case, you're most likely not getting the information because you're not asking the right questions. Let's just call it what it is. You're not asking it, right? Another thing is people, your ISAs have to be equipped to educate them about how the process takes 3 to 4 months to go through the whole process. And a lot of people, you got to ask very, very simple questions like, when do you want to be in a home? Or do you want to be in a home in June, or do you want to start the process in June? Because that right there is a 3 to 4 month window. And if someone's like, I want to be in a home in June, you know when they should be trying to buy a house? Today, right now. And a lot of people just don't understand that, right? So you got to sometimes be willing to educate people about those things. You also need to be asking the questions to see what they mean when they say something like that. So I would say those are some of the key things. And then of course, if they're not ready, put them as a follow-up and follow up at that later date. We're not going to set an appointment for someone who wants to buy in 2 years because that's when they are retiring. I mean, why would I do that? It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of their time. And my agent's going to slap me across the face. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, Robby? What's wrong with you?
There's one more question that we have to answer here.
I've got a
bunch. She's like, this is a loaded question, which it is because I love it. How are we training the ISAs to have the need, want, and desire to have convos? Are they scripted or given convo guides? And so before I started coaching with Robby, we were attempting to use lots of scripts because that's just the way most agents do it. In my previous role at Tony Robbins, when management would try to make me read scripts, I'd be like, F this script. I'd like, I do all my stuff without a script. Don't send me any script. Like I'm going to lose it. So then when we were attempting to build things out here using a script, I was like, shoot, like this is, I don't know about this. And Robby got on and he's like, hate scripts. This is about learning how to have high quality conversations, just how to talk to people and how to learn their story, which I don't think you can expect from all of your agents, but you must expect from your ISA team.
Yes.
And just added that, Summer, one more piece. You said learning how to talk to people. I'm going to reframe it. It's learning how to listen to people.
Yes.
That's it, right? It's and which I knew what you were saying, but I wanted to make sure everyone hears that. It's learning to listen to people. I don't know any script. Every single conversation I ever have is absolutely different. And scripts are proven to be highly effective in very predictable environments. And the problem is, as humans are highly unpredictable. You have no clue what they're going to say. Zero, none. And it's very, very simple. Like if we were to just simplify everything that you should be doing as an ISA is ask people if they're just looking for fun or think about making a move. If they say they're just looking for fun, you simply say, oh, cool, what had you interested in real estate? Then they'll give you two things. They'll probably say something like, well, we're kind of thinking about making a move. Cool, tell me about that, Summer. What's going on? And then your problem won't become, oh, what's my next script? Your problem becomes, holy God, people don't shut up.
It's true.
Okay. People will start
always-
telling you that they're divorced and crying and get ready to be emotional friends. Scripts don't work. It's really actually almost everyone that's really good in this game. What I've noticed is they're not scripted almost ever, whether you're a great agent or a great producer. You don't need it. So yeah.
I like the anti-script mindset there, you know?
I did a whole TED talk on it, man. I did a
Oh.
whole TED talk. You can go
Let's
check
go.
it out. It was, I hate scripts. The new scripts are the new ABCs of sales. Instead of always be closing, is always be curious, connecting, and collaborating. That's simple.
Love it. Just want to make sure I'm not, yeah, keep the questions coming, y'all. We've had a great engaged audience. So I thank everyone for no, this is perfect. You know, again, we try and, you know, my aim for sessions like this, masterminds for our CSU community, is to make it as engaging as possible for our clients. So as long as y'all are asking questions, it tells me that y'all are getting value from what Summer and Robby are saying. I know I certainly am, but I do want to be, you know, take a moment, slow down, and make sure I'm not missing anyone's question. I think we had some straightforward type questions. I think Fallon asked if what the standard Met appointments for the month is. What, you know, I think that probably depends on the organization. It may vary month to month depending on sales goals as far as transaction sides go. But maybe for this month, Summer, you know, is there a standard for Met appointments that y'all are kind of working towards?
I wouldn't say so. It changes for each ISA. It changes for how long they've been with us. It changes for their skill level. So the focus that does stay the same, or that we're working towards for everyone, is the conversion percentages between those numbers.
Okay.
So that 80%, for example, from set to Met. And then we're looking for roughly 50% of our Mets to go to signed. So it's those conversions that stay consistent month to month, whereas the actual numbers change for us depending.
Let's see. Are you training? And y'all tell me if you got some of these questions. I feel like y'all were kind of rapid firing, answering some as they came in. We got scripted.
Our ISAs don't use Sisu. Ah.
Oh no.
Yeah, that one.
I didn't set up our ISA department in Sisu, but Mac or Robby, maybe you have more on this. I know that I'm logged in as an ISA, and we have all of our team set up as ISAs in Sisu.
Yeah, Stephen, I'll jot it down. Maybe we could touch base after, get a team member involved, make sure you have all the resources. You know, I think it's setting up, you know, a scope for the ISA team, and making sure that, you know, depending on what CRM you're running, making sure that's integrated. So some of the, you know, activity data is piping through, so you have insight into that as the leader for your organization. But, you know, we can definitely help with that. I'll make a note to touch base and make sure you're up and running, because I think, you know, what we're seeing here, you know, a lot of this is around coaching and training, and making sure that you're putting your ISAs in a position to win and drive value to your organization. Obviously, you're making a big investment in hiring a staff member, you know, for your small business. So, you know, you need to have the insight and transparency into performance, and more specifically, what areas they can focus on to improve upon. You know, and Sisu provides that in spades. You know, Summer, do you still have that dashboard up? I think it kind of had some actual, you know, one thing I'd love to highlight too is sort of, you know, the production that you know you're driving. This is all good in theory, but, you know, I'd like to maybe showcase, you know, what type of volume you're driving to the business, you know, what type of revenue you're bringing in. So, you know, 2.5 or 2.15 in closed volume attributed to the ISA team, if I'm reading that correctly, 18 so far. And this is from internet leads and database, correct?
Yeah, so this is with 3 of us now, but most of this data is off of 2, myself and Cheska, who we brought in December. So this is really going into her 5th month, which is cool. So she's starting to build her pipeline and starting to have transactions that are closing and starting to get commission checks. So she's getting really excited and seeing the whole process work. But I was just going to say, to your point earlier of using Sisu to know, just to know where, like, a lot of this conversation has been about coaching, right? And like what we're looking for in the ISAs, but we wouldn't know what part to dissect without this information.
Yep.
Like, just to circle back to what Robby and I are having a conversation about today, it's like we wouldn't know we need to work on one of our ISA's conversations or focus in on, you know, whatever part it may be if we didn't have that. And what's also cool is we, about a month ago, we started having ISA agent feedback loop meetings once a week. And we determined and decided to have those feedback loop meetings where we're inviting in all the agents receiving ISA leads. We determined that because of our dashboard, because we were like, okay, well, the ISA department is setting appointments. We're starting to have a good appointment met rate, and then it was dropping off after met to signed. And we were like, what is going on? And so together we decided from the data in Sisu that, like, hey, we need to get on the same page of our agents. They need to know the importance and like what this looks like big picture. So being able to see this is critical to the ISA world.
Yeah,
And to
yeah,
see
absolutely.
where
You
we
know,
go.
and to expand on that, you know, early on, I saw a lot of people, you know, leveraging a lot of the data around it to, you know, get even more intelligent around what agents, you know, are receiving ISA set appointments for. You know,
Mhm.
when you start to realize that maybe some agents aren't as tuned in to the process, or, you know, speaking the same language as the ISA that's setting the appointment, you know, and they're losing out on that appointment. You know, obviously you learned that maybe the ISA or the ISA themselves could look at that, you know, their dashboard and say, you know what, maybe next time I'm going to be a little bit more selective about the agent I'm going to get my leads to, because, you know, I know that they're going to actually convert them and help put money in my pocket, right? We've created a good partnership. So
And that's something we're constantly looking at. I just clicked on the reports tab, the ISA report tab here in Sisu. And I know that we actually have a couple tickets in with Sisu right now to improve this dashboard. We're looking to include the back to ISA portion in here as well, and just a couple other metrics, as well as an ISA conversion report, so that we can see this same thing visually, but then see individual for, let's say, Jared up here. We can see what his conversion rate is in between each one of those. So I know those improvements are coming. But just to speak on what you just said, like, where are we going to send our business? We use this as our baseline. Like, okay, great. Who's just sending tons of appointments back to ISA? We can see Jared this month. He's had 6 set for him. He's had 5 met. He's signed 3 of those 6, has 1 under contract. Like, that's great. Jared's crushing it. Like, I'm going to keep sending him appointments. So this is, yeah, again, data.
So Mac and Summer, I know that we got to wrap soon. I
Yep.
want to share 2 things real quick if you guys are cool with it.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And I want to make sure real quick, Robby,
Yeah.
that you all have an opportunity to share how others can connect with you, because I know that there are others that may start dropping off. So, you know, do that, and also share how people can connect with you.
Yeah, so I'll start with how you can connect with us. If you ever want to get a hold of me, find me on Facebook, or you can reach out to me via text. My cell phone number is 701-388-3651. You can also reach out to me on Marco Polo. I think Marco Polo is the sweetest thing out there. Follow me anytime. I coach people informally all the time through Marco Polo. Or go to hashcoaching.com. So 2 things real quick that I want people to know. Mac, number 1 that people need to hear today is building an ISA department is not going to work overnight. It is not going to make a profound impact on your business 6 months later. It will just start to impact your business 12 months later. And it doesn't really do anything for about 24 months. And that's a tough thing to swallow. But what you need to know is that when you have patience and you hire the right people, in my world, 50+% of our business, we did 1,000 some deals last year. So let's just say 500+ deals this year will come from my ISA department. and it has created so much leverage, but that takes time. And Summer's in the infancy stages of this. That's what I'm excited about. And the more feedback you can create, that's why Sisu is such a big player here, is it just creates feedback. That's all it is. And visibility. And it gives you, oh man, what the heck's going on with this person? We got to check into this. We got to have these conversations. So that's the first thing I wanted to name. Secondly, this market shifting, friends, and whether people realize it or not, one really crazy rate or stat is that the affordability of someone buying a home has gone down 46% nationwide in the last 2 years. So in other words, if I wanted to buy a house, it's gone up, let's just call it 50% since I started looking 2 years ago. That's going to have some profound impact on things. Every 1% rise in interest rates reduces purchasing power about 10%. And how much have interest rates gone up in about the last 30 days? About 2%. So you're seeing people that have literally seen their purchasing power, if they haven't got under contract on a home, go from I can buy a $500,000 home to holy goodness, I can only buy a $400,000 home. This is going to create real impacts. I'm not saying doom or gloom here, because I think the market is still going to be very, very strong, or strong in a lot of ways. But there's going to be more headwinds. You're going to have more leads that are scared. More people think we're going to be in a bubble. And here's what I got to tell you. There's one thing I want you to walk away with, whether you have ISAs or if you are the ISA who chases leads, it's you have to dig past that surface level fear. So if Max says that I'm not buying anytime soon because the market's too crazy, I'm going to selectively ignore what Mac just said. Like, got that, Mac, totally makes sense. But help me understand, why were you interested in real estate to begin with? All right. And then Mac's going to say something like, well, you're thinking about getting a bigger home, but interest rates have gone up, so I don't know if we can do it. I'm like, I totally feel you. You're not wrong. Why did you need more space, Mac? You see, you know what really great ISAs do? They redirect and refocus. Because guess what Mac does when he goes home? He goes home to his family and feels cramped in his house. And now that's the feeling, right, that he has. People don't buy or sell home because of interest rates. Want to know how I know that? Go back to the 1980s, friends. They were buying at 10, 12, 14, 18% interest rates. Buying homes, it's like it was nothing. It affects affordability, no doubt about it. And in the short term, here's what I'll tell you is this is the greatest lead generation opportunity I've seen since COVID broke out. I was a person when COVID broke out, I said, this is a huge lead generation opportunity. Today is the beginning of another. The last few days have been. And there's gonna be two types of responses. People that settle for, oh, this person said they don't wanna buy a home because the market's too hot, and like they take it at face value and run. What Summer's gonna be doing is asking those next questions, why Summer will win. Okay, so I had to get that out there because it's so key. Again, huge opportunity for people that view it that way.
And it's extremely pertinent for the role in conversation, Robby, right? Like, you know, you want to have anyone that's here and still listening, you know, they're either they're an ISA themselves, they have an ISA in their business, or they're thinking about adding an ISA, right? And you have to be cognizant of the market conditions to help train and coach them on how to best serve your clients, right? You know, reconsider how they treat people. To your point, Robby, you're asking the right questions, getting the emotions out, having them talk. You know, it's ongoing. You don't just set it and forget it, right? You know, again, we're going back to Sisu and understanding these numbers, where to coach. It's ongoing for you as a leader, you as an ISA. And, you know, I think that's a testament to Hatch coaching as well, right? You know, y'all are staying involved, staying, you know, tuned in to what's going on, trying to, you know, focus on your craft and, you know, help others succeed in the current market conditions, because it's challenging for everyone out there. So
it's one of the joys and one of the things that we have as a coaching company is we still got a team playing the game.
Yeah, that's true.
With our team playing the game, we're right there with you. We feel the pain right there with you. We go through it. I'm not on a high. I'm not in a high castle saying, "Hey, this is great ideas." No, we have to put this stuff to work every day, and I got to change along with the market. What I will tell you is this: everybody's going to be afraid, and they're going to name that to you. You got to dig past it and find out what are some other reasons why maybe they would make a move, even though they might be afraid. So,
love it.
Oh, cool.
Robby, appreciate you. Summerr, how can others connect with you? Any, you know, if they had some follow-up questions, you know, you got to.
Yeah, of course. send me an email, summer@liveutah.com. I'm happy to connect with you. I'm also on LinkedIn, so we can get connected there. Summer Striler. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, it's been a real pleasure speaking with the both of you. Truly grateful for y'all carving out some time for myself and the CISU community today. For those of you that are still listening, I hope to bring more opportunities like this to y'all. Again, if you want to reach me, it's just Mac, M-A-C, at cisu.co, Facebook, Mac Hill, LinkedIn, Mac Hill, nice and easy. Always open suggestions. If we need to do another one of these in the future, I'm sure we could work to schedule that again, but always open to have a conversation about ways we can drive value for our CISU clients and customers to make sure y'all are getting the most out of your experience with CISU. So thank you both for your time. Appreciate y'all. Recordings will be sent out here shortly, and we'll see y'all on the other side.
Peace out. Thanks,
All right.
Max.
Bye, everyone.
guys.
Have a good one. Bye.